So I'd love to turn to the panel at this point. And Matt, I'd like to start with you. Our colleague Brian DaRin, obviously, who's with us, put out a note last week titled "Greenland is a Canard." The deposit exists, 36 million tons, but he says experts at the Colorado School of Mines argue they're often small, low-grade, or uneconomic compared to projects in Canada or Australia. What's your read on that?
Yeah, Brian's absolutely right. While Greenland has 36 million tons of rare earths, it's one of the largest deposits globally. The one company that I have that is a pure play rare earth miner, MP Materials, really demonstrates what actually matters in this industry, and it's operational execution, processing capacity, and strategic partnerships. And MP owns Mountain Pass. It's really the Western Hemisphere's only integrated rare earth facility, and we've seen the government partner with MP Materials as well as other companies in the Western world. And they're producing around 15% of the global rare earth concentrate. And the key difference, if you compare a company or the reserve that they have in California at Mountain Pass, is that they have proven reserves at really one of the world's richest deposits. And they have the operational infrastructure. They've invested over $2 billion since 2011, and it's taken a long time. It's a very tough industry to operate in. And so they're producing NdPr oxide and not just concentrate. And so they have that strategic partnerships with the DoD, also with Apple and GM. And so Greenland's deposits, they're small, low grade, and really in remote locations, lacking infrastructure. And so I think I think Brian's absolutely right that it's a canard.
Brian also flagged that radioactive coupling problem at Kvanefjeld. I'm going to kill that. The rare earths are mixed.
Good for you, Frank.
They're mixed with high levels of uranium, which led to the 2021 mining ban that killed that project. Is this unique to that field, or a broader issue about Greenland's deposits?
I mean, from what I understand, it's more of a systemic Greenland issue. That deposit containing uranium mixed with rare earths, really, the Greenland's 2021 Parliament passed an act banning uranium mining above that level. So really that effectively killed the project. So now, the company Energy Transition Materials is kind of in an international arbitration seeking damages. But really the broader problem there is, it's my understanding that many Greenland rare earth deposits sit in this complex with similar geological formations where rare earths occur with radioactive elements, and that becomes a major issue, if they are going to ban the uranium mining. So I think that ultimately it's more of a systemic problem, in my opinion.
So Brian, just really quickly, because Matt mentioned this earlier on the capacity to process stuff, can you speak to if you actually got the ore out, what's the issue with just the refining? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, yeah, that midstream refining is not going to happen in Greenland to start with. So this doesn't do a lot beyond access to the treasure chest of Greenland and all the implications of hard to mine areas there. This doesn't really move the needle as far as what's the main push in the United States policy-wise to getting midstream processing and refining set up to make these rocks so-called and metals into useful materials.
So even if
why you have investments. Oh, sorry, Frank. That's why you have investments like MP and USAR that just happened. We just wrote about USAR yesterday as well.
So even if we did get the ore, just hypothetically, you'd still have to ship to China for processing?
Right now, today?
Yeah.
Much like MP Materials is doing today? Yes.
Yeah. So Matt, there's been hype around the cobalt metals using artificial intelligence for exploration in Greenland. Big name tech investors behind it. But Brian noted, I think, Brian, I hate to speak for you, but you noted a major Australian partner, like 49% of the venture walked away after the drilling failures. What do you guys have a sense of the real story behind that?
Well, cobalt metals checks a lot of boxes as far as sexiness, right? You have a lot of the tech guys invested in it that were all standing behind Trump at his inauguration. They're utilizing AI to help in exploration. What that means exactly? TBD. I mean, you're basically putting AI against boots on the ground geologists who tend to know what they're doing and have a lot of experience doing so versus a data crunching process. Mm-hmm. So I think cobalt and the favorable case study review that they got from Harvard did a lot to very much pump them up as somebody that's going to go into Greenland and be able to get at the metal and everything else. But as it stands, that they're not going anyplace quickly.
And Stu, from an energy and logistics standpoint, Brian described operating conditions in Greenland as colder and harsher than Alaska, with very little infrastructure and ice coverage, making mining incredibly expensive. So what does that mean for capital costs if they try to do something like this as well?
Yeah, good question. So capital costs enormous. Things take longer than you think. If a piece of equipment breaks, it takes forever to get a replacement. The equipment that you do bring in country has to be, capable of harsh environment type activity, which again, to get hardened assets that are capable of that, also more expensive. So, the closest experience I can think of is like, offshore drilling in harsh environments like the North Sea, where, the cost of getting an offshore rig, for example, can be like 2x the cost of another similar rig in a much, calmer environment like the Gulf of Mexico or something. So, it's very tricky and likely very expensive and time consuming.